Captain Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of the UNSS Horizon, staring at the massive structure floating in the darkness of space. The Galactic Council Station was unlike anything humanity had ever built. It looked like a crystal flower, each petal a different color, spinning slowly in the void. His hands gripped the armrest of his command chair as his ship approached the docking bay. "They're scanning us again," his communications officer reported. "Fifth time in the last hour." Ji-hoon nodded. The aliens were cautious. He couldn't blame them. Humanity was new to this part of space, and first impressions mattered. Behind him, Ambassador Hana adjusted her formal uniform and took a deep breath. She had spent 3 years learning alien customs and protocols, preparing for this moment. "Remember," Hana said quietly, "we're here to make friends, not enemies." The docking procedure took another 20 minutes. When they finally stepped off their ship, a group of aliens waited for them. Ji-hoon tried not to stare. He had seen the videos and images, but nothing prepared him for the reality. One alien looked like a bird made of silver metal. Another seemed to be made of living water, constantly shifting shape inside a containment suit. A third had 6 legs and crystals growing from its back. The bird-like alien stepped forward. Its translator device clicked and hummed before speaking in perfect Korean. "Welcome to the Galactic Council. I am Overseer Velkith. We have waited long to meet humanity." Ambassador Hana bowed respectfully. "The honor is ours. Earth sends its gratitude for this opportunity." The tour of the station lasted 3 hours. Velkith showed them chambers where 847 different species met to discuss galactic matters. He explained how the Council had maintained peace for over 50,000 years through careful rules and traditions. Every conflict was resolved through negotiation or limited combat. No species had fought a total war in millennia. "Your species is quite young," Velkith said as they walked through a grand hall filled with floating holograms, showing galactic history. "You still fight among yourselves?" "Yes?" Hana nodded carefully. "We do. But we're working toward unity. That's why we're here. To learn from older, wiser civilizations." Velkith's feathers ruffled in what might have been approval. "Good. We can teach you much about peaceful coexistence." The formal council meeting began the next day. Hana sat at a curved table, surrounded by alien delegates representing dozens of species. She presented Earth's case for membership, explaining humanity's achievements and desires for peace. Many delegates seemed interested and welcoming. Then a reptilian alien stood up. His scales were dark red, and his eyes were cold yellow. "I am War Master Thexalar, of the Krell Dominion. We have reviewed your application, humans. Your species shows promise, but you lack proper humility." Hana felt her stomach tighten. "I don't understand." "We've been respectful in all our—" "Respect is shown through action, not words," Thexalar interrupted. "Your outer colonies occupy space that borders our territory. As tribute for council membership, you will surrender those colonies to us." The room fell silent. Hana looked at Velkith, who looked away uncomfortably. This wasn't part of the briefing. She glanced back at Captain Ji-hoon, who sat in the observer section, his face carefully neutral. "Those colonies have 50 million human civilians," Hana said slowly. "We cannot simply abandon them." Thexalar's lips pulled back, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then you refuse? Perhaps humanity is not ready for council membership after all." Another alien spoke up, this one looking like a floating jellyfish. "The Krell have the right to issue a challenge under council law. If humans refuse tribute, they must prove their worth through limited combat." "Limited combat?" Hana asked. Velkith finally spoke, his voice sad. "It is an old tradition. 2 species engage in a small military conflict under strict rules. No massive weapons, no widespread destruction. A battle limited to one location. The winner gains the disputed territory or resources. It is civilized warfare." "Civilized warfare," Hana repeated, the words tasting bitter in her mouth. Thexalar leaned forward. "We challenge humanity to meet us in honorable combat. Unless you are cowards?" Hana looked at Ji-hoon again. The captain's jaw was clenched. but he nodded once. They both knew refusing would mean immediate rejection from the council. It might even mean war with the Krell without any rules or limits. "We accept your challenge," Hana said quietly. The council chamber erupted in clicking, humming, and whistling as different species reacted. Velkith tapped his claws for silence. "Then it is decided. The combat will take place on the barren moon. Theta 7 inches, 30 days. Both sides will bring no more than 5,000 warriors. Standard council rules apply. Do you understand these rules, Ambassador?" "Ambassador." Hana shook her head. "We'll need time to study them." "Of course," Velkith said. "We will provide all necessary documentation." That evening, Ji-hoon and Hana sat in their quarters aboard the Horizon, reviewing the council rules of engagement. The list was long and detailed. No weapons of mass destruction, no attacks on retreating forces, no targeting civilians, combat only in designated zones. Battles must end when one side surrenders. "They've turned war into a game," Ji-hoon said, his voice filled with disbelief. "Look at this. There are rules about how far apart forces must start, what weapons are considered fair. Even regulations about how many commanders each side can have." Hana rubbed her tired eyes. "They've had peace for 50,000 years, Ji-hoon. This is how they maintain it. Small, controlled conflicts that don't escalate. But it's not real war," Ji-hoon said. "It's like a sport." "Maybe that's better," Hana suggested. "Maybe we can learn from them. Maybe this is how we finally move past our own violent history." Ji-hoon didn't answer. He was reading deeper into the documentation, his frown growing deeper. These rules assume both sides want to minimize casualties. They assume everyone plays fair. What happens if someone doesn't? Then the entire council turns against them, Hana said. That's the threat that maintains the system. Break the rules. Face everyone else. What if we win? Ji-hoon asked suddenly. Then we keep our colonies and gain respect, Hana said. No, I mean really win, not just score more points or make them surrender. What if we crush them completely within these rules? Hana looked at him sharply. That's not the point, Ji-hoon. This isn't about crushing anyone. It's about showing we can participate in their system. Ji-hoon stood and walked to the window, looking out at the distant stars. The Krell think we're weak. They think they can bully us because we're new. Maybe we need to teach them a lesson. A lesson? Hana stood as well. We're trying to join a peaceful coalition, not start a war. They started it, Ji-hoon said. We're just going to finish it. Within their rules. Of course. Hana felt a chill run down her spine. She had known Ji-hoon for 5 years. He was a good captain. Fair and thoughtful. But she saw something in his eyes now that worried her. Something cold and calculating. Just remember, she said carefully. We're representing all of humanity. What we do in that battle will determine how every species in this galaxy sees us for generations. Ji-hoon turned to her and smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Don't worry, Ambassador. We'll follow every single rule. We'll be perfectly civilized. But as Hana left to send her report back to Earth, she couldn't shake the feeling that the Council had made a terrible mistake. They had challenged humanity to a fight, thinking it would be a simple lesson in humility. They treated war like a gentleman's sport. With rules and honor and limitations, they didn't understand that humans had spent thousands of years learning how to win wars. And humans didn't play games when survival was on the line. The moon Theta 7 was a dead rock floating in space. It had no atmosphere, no water, and no life. Just gray dust and ancient craters stretching to the horizon, perfect for a battle, according to Council standards. No innocent lives to protect, no environment to damage, just 2 armies meeting in open combat. Colonel Do-yoon stood on a ridge overlooking the designated combat zone, watching as the Krell forces established their positions. Through his tactical visor, he could see every detail. They moved in perfect formation, setting up energy barriers and defensive positions with practiced efficiency. 5,000 Krell warriors in gleaming armor, carrying weapons that hummed with barely contained power. "They look impressive," Lieutenant Sora said beside him. She was studying the same displays, her fingers dancing across her portable command screen. "They're supposed to," Do-yoon replied. "This is theater for them. Watch how they move. It's like a parade. They want to look intimidating." Sora zoomed in on a group of Krell officers. Their commander is in the center, surrounded by guards. The heavy weapons are spread evenly across the line. Energy shields are linked to create a continuous barrier. Do-yoon nodded. Standard textbook tactics. Probably unchanged for thousands of years. Why fix what isn't broken, right? Except humans broke it, Sora said with a slight smile. Many times. On our own world. Behind them, 2,000 human soldiers prepared for battle. They looked primitive compared to the Krell. Their armor was bulkier, less elegant. Their weapons were simple kinetic rifles that fired metal bullets instead of energy beams. No fancy shields, no glowing technology, just soldiers with guns, preparing to fight. The council observers arrived in floating platforms, positioning themselves high above the battlefield. Do-yoon could see Overseer Velkith among them, along with dozens of other alien species. They had come to watch what they thought would be a quick lesson in humility for the upstart humans. War Master Thexalar's voice boomed across the communication channel. "Humans, we offer you one final chance to surrender. Bow before the Krell Dominion, and we will accept your colonies with mercy." Do-yoon activated his own communicator. "We decline your generous offer. Let's get this over with." A disappointed hiss came through the channel. "So be it. You have chosen death." The Krell advanced. 5,000 warriors moving in unison, their shields glowing bright blue. Their weapons charged and ready. They marched across the lunar surface like an unstoppable wall of power. It was impressive. Terrifying, even. Do-yoon watched them come. "Sora, are the mines ready?" "Positioned and armed," she confirmed. "Sniper teams?" "In position. 17 different locations, all hidden. Remote weapons? Online and targeted." Do-yoon took a deep breath. Then, "Let's begin. Execute Phase 1. The Krell were halfway across the open ground when the first mine exploded. Not under their feet, but 50 meters ahead of them. Dust and rocks flew into the air, creating a massive cloud. The Krell formation slowed, confused. Their shields could stop energy weapons and projectiles, but they did nothing against obscuring dust. More explosions followed, each one carefully placed to create maximum chaos without directly hitting the Krell. The entire battlefield disappeared into a gray storm of lunar dust. The Krell stopped advancing, their perfect formation breaking as warriors tried to maintain visual contact with each other. Then the snipers opened fire. The bullets couldn't penetrate the Krell shields from the front. But the shields were designed to stop direct attacks, not shots fired from 17 different angles at once. A Krell officer fell. Then another. The sniper teams were targeting commanders and communication equipment, not foot soldiers. "What is happening?" Thexalar's voice screamed over the communication channel. "This is not honorable combat. You said limited engagement," Do-yoon replied calmly. "You didn't say how we had to fight." The Krell tried to regroup, their warriors forming defensive circles with shields overlapping. It was good tactics for their type of warfare. It would have worked perfectly against another council species. But Sora had already triggered Phase 2. Hidden automated weapons systems activated all around the battlefield. These weren't the massive weapons prohibited by council rules. These were simple machines with simple guns, remotely operated and positioned during the previous night. They fired continuously into the Krell positions, not trying to penetrate shields but forcing the Krell to maintain their defensive posture. "Humans, show yourselves," Thexalar roared. "Face us in honest battle." "Sure," Do-yoon said. 200 human soldiers emerged from the dust, but not in a neat formation. They moved in small groups, using the terrain for cover, spreading out across a wide front. When the Krell turned to face them, they disappeared behind rocks and into craters. The Krell fired their energy weapons, brilliant blue bolts that should have cut through human armor like paper. But the humans weren't where the Krell expected. They appeared from different angles, fired quick bursts from their primitive kinetic weapons, then vanished again. One Krell warrior fell, his shield overloaded from too many impacts from too many directions. Then another. Then 5 more. The Krell formation was disintegrating as warriors tried to defend against attacks coming from everywhere and nowhere. "This is madness," one of the council observers shouted. "This is not proper warfare." Velkith watched in horrified fascination. "They're not fighting like soldiers. They're fighting like hunters." Doyun heard the comment through his communication link to the observers. He smiled. "We're doing exactly what you asked. Limited engagement. Designated combat zone. No weapons of mass destruction. We're following every single rule." "But not the spirit of the rules," Velkith protested. "You didn't mention spirit," Doyun replied. "You just gave us a list of rules. We studied that list very carefully." The battle continued for 3 more hours. The Krell tried everything they knew. They attempted to advance, to retreat, to reform their lines. But every move they made was anticipated and countered. The humans used smoke grenades, improvised explosives, and even set fire to deposits of chemical compounds in the lunar soil to create barriers and confusion. Lieutenant Sora directed the battle like a chess game, moving pieces across the board, predicting every Krell response. "They're trying to consolidate near the northern crater," she reported. "Recommend Team Bravo cut off their route." "Do it," Doyun ordered. The Krell casualties mounted, not from massive attacks or overwhelming firepower, but from constant pressure from multiple directions. Their advanced shields and weapons meant nothing when they couldn't see their enemies clearly or predict where the next attack would come from. Finally, War Master Thexalar's voice came over the communication channel again. But this time, it wasn't filled with arrogance. It was desperate. We surrender. The Krell Dominion yields this engagement." Doyun paused. By council rules, the battle should end now. The Krell had surrendered. The proper thing to do was stop fighting and accept their withdrawal. That's how civilized species conducted warfare. He thought about his orders from Earth Command. He thought about the 50 million civilians the Krell had threatened to displace. He thought about how the Krell had bullied humanity simply because they could. "Surrender accepted," Doyun said. "You have 30 minutes to evacuate your wounded and retreat to your ships. Any Krell forces still in the combat zone after that will be considered hostile." "That's not enough time," Thexalar protested. "Then you'd better move fast," Doyun replied, and cut the channel. The Krell scrambled to evacuate. They left behind equipment, weapons, and their carefully prepared positions. The proud warriors who had marched in perfect formation now fled in disorder, carrying their wounded, desperate to reach their ships before the human deadline expired. The council observers were silent as they watched the retreat. This wasn't how these engagements were supposed to end. The loser usually withdrew with dignity, having proven their courage even in defeat. But the Krell looked broken, terrified, scrambling over each other to escape. Ambassador Hana, watching from orbit, felt sick to her stomach. They had won, decisively, completely, without breaking a single council rule. But at what cost? When Doyun and his troops returned to their transport ship, they were met with cheers from the human crew. They had defeated a superior force, protected their colonies, and earned humanity's place in the galaxy. But as Doyun removed his helmet and looked at the celebrating soldiers, he felt strangely empty. The Krell had treated war like a sport. Humans had treated it like survival. Both sides had followed the same rules, but only one side truly understood what those rules meant. The galaxy was about to learn a terrible lesson. Humans didn't just fight to win battles. They fought to ensure they never had to fight again, and that made all the difference. News of humanity's victory spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. Every species heard about how the primitive newcomers had defeated the proud Krell Dominion. But the reactions were divided. Some species were impressed, others were disturbed, many were angry. Admiral Hyun sat in the command center on Earth, watching the feeds from across the galaxy. She had been promoted immediately after the Theta-7 battle, tasked with overseeing humanity's rapidly expanding military presence in Council space. The messages coming in were not encouraging. Another formal complaint, her assistant reported. The hierarchs are calling our tactics barbaric and uncivilized. They want the Council to sanction us. Hyun sighed. How many is that today? 17 complaints from 14 different species. And the challenges? The assistant checked his screen. 3 more. The hierarchs, the Luminar Collective, and the Vrin Empire have all issued formal combat challenges. They want to prove the Krell loss was a fluke. Hyun stood and walked to the massive window, overlooking Earth's orbital shipyards. Dozens of new vessels were under construction, their skeletal frames glowing with welding torches. They don't understand, do they? They think we got lucky. Dr. Minji entered the room, carrying a thick data pad. She was Earth's leading xenopsychologist, and she had been studying the Council species since first contact. It's worse than that, Admiral. They literally cannot comprehend our approach to warfare. I've been reviewing their military histories. The last total war in Council space was over 40,000 years ago. Everything since then has been these limited engagements. And that's bad because they've forgotten what real war is, Minji said. They treat military conflict like a chess game or a sporting event. They've rules for everything. How to start. How to fight. How to end. They've taken all the actual danger out of it. Hyun turned to face her. War should be dangerous. That's the whole point. If it's not dangerous, it's not war. It's just expensive theater. Exactly, Minji agreed. But for them, it works. These limited conflicts resolve disputes without massive casualties or destruction. It's actually quite brilliant. As long as everyone agrees to play by the same rules. But we don't, Hyun said quietly. We follow their rules, but we interpret them differently. That's what terrifies them, Minji said. You want to know what I've been hearing from my Council contacts? They're saying humans fight like their ancestors did before the Council existed. They're saying we remind them of the dark times they've spent millennia trying to forget. Before Hyun could respond, an urgent message came through. Admiral, the Hierarch's challenge has been formally accepted by Earth Command. We have 2 weeks to prepare. Hyun looked at Minji. Tell me about the Hierarchs. Insectoid hive mind, Minji said, pulling up images on her datapad. Think of them as one consciousness spread across thousands of bodies. They fight in perfect coordination because they're literally one mind controlling all their soldiers. Their tactics are incredibly sophisticated because there's no communication delay, no confusion, no individual fear or hesitation. Sounds dangerous, Hyun said. They're considered one of the most formidable military forces in the Council. They haven't lost an engagement in over 1,000 years. Hyun smiled grimly. Then it's time to break their streak. The battle against the Hierarchs took place on an ice planet designated Combat Zone Sigma-9. Colonel Doyun, now famous throughout the galaxy, again led the human forces. This time, he brought Lieutenant Sora and a team of electronic warfare specialists. The Hierarchs deployed 3,000 warriors, who moved as one perfect organism. No individual unit, just one vast intelligence spread across thousands of bodies. They advanced like a flowing wave, adapting instantly to any obstacle, their tactics flawless. Beginning electronic warfare protocols, Sora announced. Across the battlefield, human equipment began broadcasting specific frequencies. These weren't weapons in the traditional sense. They were jamming devices, signal disruptors, and quantum static generators. The humans had studied the Hierarch's hive communication system for 2 weeks and found its weaknesses. The effect was immediate and horrifying. The Hierarch's perfect coordination shattered. Individual warriors stopped moving in sync. Some stood still, confused. Others wandered in random directions. A few attacked each other, unable to distinguish friend from enemy through the electronic chaos. What have you done? The Hierarch Prime's voice screamed across all channels. What is this abomination? Likes. What is this abomination? Likes. What is this abomination? Electronic warfare, Doyun replied calmly. Not prohibited by council rules. We're just disrupting communications. But we are not communicating. We are one being. You are attacking our mind itself. If your mind is vulnerable to radio waves, that's not our problem, Doyun said. The hierarchs tried to adapt, to fight through the disruption. But their entire existence was based on perfect unity. When that unity was broken, they panicked. The concept of individual survival instinct was foreign to them. Each body had always been just part of a greater whole. Now, suddenly separated, they didn't know what to do. The battle lasted only 90 minutes before the hierarchs surrendered. It was the fastest council engagement in recorded history. And the most one-sided. The Luminar Collective challenged humanity next. They were beings of pure energy, contained in specially designed suits that allowed them to interact with physical matter. They were nearly invincible in conventional combat because energy weapons just fed them more power, and kinetic weapons passed through their non-solid forms. Admiral Hyun personally led the fleet engagement against the Luminar. She had brought a secret weapon that human scientists had been developing since the first reports about energy-based life forms reached Earth. Deploy the dampening field, she ordered. Massive generators on the human ships activated, creating a field that suppressed specific energy wavelengths. The Luminar warriors, expecting an easy victory, suddenly found themselves weakening. Their containment suits began to fail as the energy that composed their bodies was forcibly dampened. This is impossible, the Luminar high voice transmitted. How do you know our specific energy frequency? We scanned you during our diplomatic meetings, Hyun replied. You thought we were just being friendly. We were studying you. This is treachery. This is preparation, Hyun corrected. Council rules don't prohibit research. The Luminar tried to retreat, but human ships pursued them. Not to destroy them, that would violate the surrender they had offered, but to demonstrate that humanity could match them anywhere. The Luminar's greatest strength, their energy-based nature, had become their greatest weakness against an enemy who understood science better than honor. The Vrin Empire's challenge came in space. They were aquatic beings who piloted ships filled with their native ocean environment. Their vessels were fast, maneuverable, and had never been defeated in fleet combat. They challenged humanity to a traditional space battle with 50 ships on each side. Admiral Hyun accepted, but she brought ships that horrified the council observers. The Vrin fleet was beautiful. Sleek vessels that moved like fish through water, their weapons precise, and their tactics refined over millennia. They engaged the human fleet, expecting another glorious addition to their long history of victories. The human ships looked rough and blocky in comparison. But when the battle began, they fought like nothing the Vrin had ever seen. Human pilots performed maneuvers that should have killed them, pulling gravitational forces that would have rendered any other species unconscious. Human ships rammed Vrin vessels, sacrificing smaller craft to destroy larger ones. They vented atmosphere to change trajectory, used debris as weapons, and even detonated their own damaged ships near enemy formations. They're insane, a Vrin commander screamed. They're killing themselves. We're winning, Hyun replied coldly. One human captain, Commander Yoonji, became famous for a maneuver that council species would study for years. When her ship was damaged and losing atmosphere, she aimed directly at a Vrin flagship and accelerated. The Vrin thought she was trying to ram them and moved to avoid. Instead, Yoonji fired all her weapons at the last second, then ejected her entire crew in escape pods, while the empty ship continued forward, forcing the Vrin ship into the firing line of 3 other human vessels. The Vrin surrendered 20 minutes later, their once proud fleet scattered and demoralized. Back on Earth, Dr. Minji delivered her report to the full planetary council. Her face was grave as she presented her findings. We've won every challenge issued to us, she began. We followed every council rule perfectly. But we've done something that no council species has done in thousands of years. We've weaponized warfare itself. Explain, President Nari said from her seat. The council species fight to resolve disputes, Minji said. They accept casualties as part of the process, but they don't seek to inflict maximum damage. They don't study their enemies for weaknesses. They don't adapt their technology specifically to counter specific opponents. They fight honorably, following traditions that have existed for millennia. And we don't, Nari said. It wasn't a question. We can't, Minji replied. Humans evolved on a world where survival meant constant competition. We had thousands of separate nations, cultures, and peoples all fighting for limited resources. We developed warfare into a science of efficiency, how to win with minimum cost to ourselves and maximum damage to our enemies. We've spent our entire history learning how to fight better, harder, smarter. Is that wrong? General Taeyong asked. It's terrifying, Minji said. The council representatives I've spoken with are genuinely frightened. They issued these challenges expecting to teach us humility. Instead, we've revealed something they hoped never to see again. A species that treats warfare not as a formal ritual, but as an existential struggle. President Nari stood and walked to the holographic display showing the galaxy. What are they going to do about it? That's what worries me, Minji said. Some council species want to embrace us, to learn from us. But others are talking about eliminating the threat before it grows too large. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had proven they could win any limited engagement. But what would happen if someone decided the only way to stop humanity was through unlimited warfare? Through the kind of total war the Council had spent 50,000 years trying to prevent? The emergency session of the Galactic Council was called in the middle of the night, Earth time. Ambassador Hana rushed to attend, her diplomatic team scrambling to prepare. When she arrived at the council chamber, she knew immediately that something was very wrong. The usual calm atmosphere was gone, replaced by angry voices and hostile stares. Overseer Velkith called the session to order with difficulty. His feathers were ruffled, and his movements agitated. We gather to discuss the human question. Recent events have caused significant concern among our members. Concern? One delegate shouted. It was a massive creature that looked like living stone. The humans are a threat to everything the Council stands for. They mock our traditions and turn warfare into butchery. We've followed every rule, Hana protested. Every single engagement has been conducted within Council guidelines. You follow the letter of our laws while destroying their spirit. Another delegate accused. This one was covered in bioluminescent patches that flashed with anger. You've won 4 challenges using tactics that would shame any civilized species. A third voice joined in. The humans study us like laboratory specimens. They analyze our weaknesses and exploit them without mercy. This is not how council members behave. Hana stood her ground. You challenged us. All of you. You demanded we prove ourselves worthy through combat. We did exactly what you asked. We expected you to lose. Someone shouted from the back of the chamber. The room fell silent. Velkith's head swiveled toward the speaker. Delegate Torm, please elaborate. The delegate, an insectoid creature smaller than the others, seemed to realize what he had said. I only meant that we expected humans to understand their place, to accept that they are young and inexperienced. These challenges were meant to teach humility, not to be won, Hana finished for him. You created a system where newcomers are hazed until they submit. You never expected anyone to actually win. That's not true, Velkith protested, but his voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Hana looked around the chamber. How many species in this council have won their first 4 challenges? How many have defeated established powers like the Krell, the Hierarchs, the Luminar, and the Vryn? No one answered. None, Hana said. Because the system is designed to keep everyone in their place. The old powers stay powerful, and the new arrivals learn to be grateful for whatever scraps they're given. You're twisting the purpose of our traditions, Velkith said. No, Hana replied. I'm just seeing them clearly. You've had peace for 50,000 years, but it's not really peace. It's just a hierarchy maintained by ritual combat. And you're all comfortable with that, because no one has seriously challenged it in millennia. Until now, a new voice said. An ancient being floated into the chamber. It looked like a collection of glowing orbs connected by threads of light. This was Council Elder Pratoth. one of the oldest living entities in the galaxy. Hana had never seen him before. Most council members hadn't. He rarely left his meditation chambers. "Elder," Velkith said, bowing deeply. "We did not expect you." "I came because I remember," Pratoth said, his voice like distant music. "I remember when my species fought like the humans do. Before the council. Before the rules. When survival was all that mattered." "Elder, please," Velkith began. But Pratoth continued. "We created the council to escape that horror. To never again face the possibility of total extinction. We made warfare safe, predictable, limited. And it worked. For 50,000 years, it worked." "Then you agree the humans are dangerous," another delegate said hopefully. "I agree they are different," Pratoth replied. "And that frightens you. But I must tell you something important. If you threaten to eliminate humanity, you will face the very thing you fear most." "What do you mean?" Velkith asked. "Total war," Pratoth said simply. "The humans have been restraining themselves. These challenges you issued? They treated them like exercises. Like tests. They used a fraction of their actual capability. If you threaten their survival, they will stop holding back." "You can't know that," someone argued. "I can," Pratoth said. "Because my species did the same thing. When we felt safe, we limited ourselves. We fought with rules and honor. But when we faced extinction, we unleashed everything we had, every weapon, every tactic, every horrible thing we were capable of. That is what species do when survival is at stake. And humans are very, very good at survival." The chamber buzzed with worried conversation. Hana felt a chill run down her spine. Pratoth was right. Humanity had been playing by council rules, treating these challenges like military exercises. But Earth Command had other plans, other weapons, other strategies that had never been deployed. "What do you suggest, Elder?" Velkith asked. "I suggest we accept them as equals and move forward," Pratoth said. Or what?" someone demanded. "Or we prepare for the possibility that the council itself may not survive what comes next." The elder floated away, leaving silence behind. Hana returned to her quarters, her mind racing. She immediately contacted Earth Command. "We have a problem," she told President Nari over the secure channel. "The council is fracturing. Some want to accept us, but others want us gone. They're scared, and scared people do stupid things." "How stupid?" Nari asked. "Potentially very stupid," Hana replied. She was right to worry. In a secret meeting held in a location known to only 6 council species, a conspiracy was forming. These species, mid-level powers, neither the strongest nor the weakest, had decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to continue. The established powers wouldn't act because they were too cautious. The weaker powers wouldn't act because they were too afraid. But these 6 species together commanded enough military force to potentially overwhelm Earth. Their plan was simple and brutal. They would launch a surprise attack directly on Earth, ignoring all council protocols. They would strike before humanity could deploy their full forces, destroying the human homeworld and scattering the colonies. It would be the first true act of total warfare in 50,000 years, but they underestimated human intelligence gathering. Commander Yunji, now reassigned to reconnaissance operations, intercepted encrypted communications between the conspirators. She brought the evidence directly to Admiral Hyun. "They're planning to attack Earth," Unji reported. 6 species, 50,000 ships total. They plan to strike in 3 days. Hyun stared at the data in disbelief. 50,000 ships? That's more than the entire recorded military force of half the council combined. "They're pooling everything they have," Unji said. "They think if they hit us hard and fast, they can eliminate the threat before anyone else can respond." "Do the other council members know?" "No. This is completely outside council authority. They're essentially planning the first galactic war in 50,000 years." Hyun immediately contacted President Nari. "Madam President, we have a code black situation." Nari listened to the report, her face growing paler with each word. When Hyun finished, She was silent for a long moment. You know what we have to do, Hyun said quietly. Yes, Nari replied. But once we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy will never see us the same way again. They'll see us as we really are, Hyun said. Nari closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with resolve. Contact the council. Tell them we know about the conspiracy. Tell them we're issuing a warning. And if they don't listen, then we activate the Annihilation Doctrine. Hana was the one who delivered the message to the full council. She stood before them, her voice steady despite her racing heart. We know about the planned attack on Earth, she said. 6 of your member species have decided to destroy our homeworld, violating every principle this council claims to uphold. The chamber erupted in shock and denial. Velkith demanded proof. Hana provided it intercepted communications, fleet movements, supply routes. The evidence was undeniable. We're giving you one chance, Hana continued. Call off this attack. Punish these conspirators. Show us that the council's laws mean something. And if we don't? One of the conspirators demanded brazenly. Hana looked directly at him. Then we will show you what humans are truly capable of. For the past year, we've been playing by your rules. We've been civilized. We've restrained ourselves. But if you attack our home, you will see what happens when humans stop holding back. Empty threats from a primitive species, the conspirator sneered. Not threats, Hana said quietly. A promise. We came to your council hoping to learn peace. You responded by testing us, challenging us, and now trying to destroy us. You've been teaching us that the only language you understand is force. Fine, we'll speak that language. But remember, you insisted on this. The vote was called. Would the council act against the conspirators? The result was mixed. Some species voted to intervene, others abstained. Some openly supported the planned attack. The motion failed. Hana looked at Velkith, seeing the fear in his eyes. Then we're done being civilized. The fleet is coming for Earth. Let them come. But know this, whatever arrives at Earth will never leave. She left the council chamber and sent one encrypted message to Earth. They're coming. Authorization granted. Release everything. Admiral Hyun received the message and spoke 2 words that would change galactic history forever. Activate retribution. The fleet of 50,000 ships moved through space like a swarm of locusts. 6 species, unified by fear and determination, advanced toward Earth. Their commanders were confident. Humanity had shown cleverness in limited engagements. But this was different. This was overwhelming force. No tactics or tricks could overcome such numbers. 2 days until we reach human space, the fleet coordinator announced. All ships maintain formation. When we emerge from faster-than-light travel, we strike immediately. The humans won't have time to react. They were wrong. Admiral Hyun stood in Earth's orbital command center, watching the enemy fleets approach on long-range sensors. Around her, dozens of officers worked at their stations with calm efficiency. There was no panic, no fear, just cold determination. Status of the defense network? Hyun asked. All systems online, an officer reported. Retribution protocol is active. We're ready. Fleet positions? Our ships are deployed in 3 defensive layers. 2,000 vessels total. 2,000 against 50,000. On paper, it was suicide. But these weren't the same ships the Council had seen in previous engagements. These were vessels that humanity had been building in secret, designed not for exploration or limited warfare, but for total combat. Every system, every weapon, every component had one purpose: to destroy enemy forces as efficiently as possible. Commander Unji commanded one of these new ships, the destroyer times Retribution **. Her vessel looked nothing like the bulky transports humans had used before. It was sleek, fast, and covered in weapons that Council species had never seen deployed. All crews to battle stations, Unji ordered. Remember your training. These aren't exercises anymore. This is real war. The enemy fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Their commanders immediately broadcast their demands: unconditional surrender, evacuation of Earth, dissolution of all human colonies. Admiral Hyun's response was brief. No. The battle began. The alien fleet advanced, expecting to overwhelm the tiny human defense force through sheer numbers. Instead, they encountered something that would haunt galactic military academies for generations. The first wave of attackers hit what they thought was empty space. Then the kinetic kill vehicles struck. These weren't sophisticated energy weapons or elegant plasma torpedoes. They were simple chunks of metal accelerated to near-light speed. When they hit shields designed to stop energy weapons, they punched through like bullets through paper. 20 ships exploded in the first 10 seconds. What was that? A panicked voice screamed across the communication channels. They're firing solid projectiles at relativistic speeds, another commander reported. Our shields don't stop them. The alien fleet tried to adapt, but the humans gave them no time. From hidden positions throughout the solar system, automated defense platforms activated. These weren't the elegant alien designs with limited firing arcs. These were brutal, efficient weapon systems that could track and engage hundreds of targets simultaneously. Nuclear-pumped lasers, a weapon so primitive that Council species hadn't used them in thousands of years, sliced through enemy hulls. The aliens' advanced sensors couldn't predict where the beams would strike because they moved at light speed. By the time sensors detected the laser, it had already hit. Fall back, fall back. Orders rang through the alien fleet, but falling back meant turning around, exposing engines and rear shields to human fire. Dozens more ships exploded or went dead in space. Then the human fleet engaged. Commander Yoonji's retribution times, moved like a dart, accelerating at rates that should have killed her crew. But humans could withstand more gravitational force than most Council species. What was deadly acceleration for aliens was merely uncomfortable for humans. Target their command ships, Yoonji ordered. Cut off their coordination. Her tactical officer identified the alien flagships and fed targeting data to the weapons systems. The Time's retribution times unleashed a barrage of missiles, not smart missiles that could be jammed or hacked, but simple kinetic weapons with just enough guidance to hit their targets. One alien flagship tried to intercept the incoming fire with point defense systems. They stopped the first dozen missiles. The next 50 got through. The flagship broke apart, its pieces scattering across space. They're using AI-controlled weapons, an alien commander realized with horror. Autonomous systems that learn and adapt. That's illegal under Council law. Another protested. We're not fighting a Council battle, Admiral Hyun transmitted coldly. You wanted to destroy our home. You brought total war to our doorstep. This is what total war looks like. The human ships employed tactics that the aliens found incomprehensible. They used their own damaged vessels as decoys, drawing enemy fire while fresh ships struck from different angles. They sacrificed smaller craft to protect larger ones without hesitation. Human pilots performed suicide runs, ramming critical enemy vessels when their own ships were too damaged to continue fighting. Most horrifying of all were the cyber warfare attacks. Human hackers penetrated alien computer systems, turning their weapons against each other. Ships began firing on their own allies, unable to distinguish friend from enemy through the electronic chaos. Command and control systems crashed, navigation computers failed, life support systems shut down. This is not warfare. A desperate alien commander transmitted. This is slaughter. This is terrorism. This is survival, Admiral Hyun replied. You came to exterminate us. Did you expect us to die politely? The battle lasted 48 hours. When it ended, the alien fleet was destroyed. Not defeated, not driven back, destroyed. Of the 50,000 ships that had attacked Earth, fewer than 3,000 escaped. The rest were debris floating in space. Testament to what happens when you threaten humanity's homeworld. The Council members who had stayed neutral watched in absolute horror. They had never seen anything like this. Even in the ancient wars before the Council formed, combat had never been this efficient, this brutal, this utterly one-sided. Overseer Velkith contacted Earth directly, his voice shaking. Please. Stop. We surrender. The whole council surrenders. Just stop. President Nari appeared on the communication channel, her face hard. Stop? You want us to stop? You issued challenges to teach us humility. You formed secret conspiracies to destroy us. You brought a fleet to exterminate our species. And now that we've defended ourselves, you want us to stop? We were wrong, Velkith pleaded. We understand now. You are not like us. You fight differently. We should never have challenged you. No. Nari agreed. You shouldn't have. Because you made a critical mistake. You assumed that because we wanted peace, we were weak. You assumed that because we followed your rules, we couldn't break them. You assumed that our restraint was the limit of our capability. She paused, letting her words sink in. Do you know why humans built all these weapons? Nari continued. Why we developed technologies specifically designed for total annihilation. Because 200 years ago, we almost destroyed ourselves. We built nuclear weapons, biological agents, chemical weapons, everything necessary to make Earth uninhabitable. And we came within seconds of using them. Then you understand the horror of such weapons, Velkith said hopefully. We understand better than anyone, Nari replied. That's why we developed a doctrine, a principle that has guided humanity for 2 centuries. We build these weapons so we never have to use them. We become strong so no one will attack us. We prepare for total war so we can maintain peace. But you just used them, someone pointed out. Because you forced us to, Nari said. You proved that the only way to be safe in this galaxy is to be so strong that no one dares challenge you. You created this situation, not us. Ambassador Hana joined the conversation from the council station. She looked exhausted but determined. The council has a choice to make right now. You can accept humanity as full members with complete equality, or you can continue treating us as threats to be eliminated. But understand this, if anyone attacks Earth again, the response will be the same. We will defend ourselves with every weapon, every tactic, every ounce of force we possess. Elder Pratoth appeared on the channel, his light dimmer than before. She speaks truth. I warned you what would happen. Species that fight for survival do not stop until the threat is eliminated. The humans have proven this. They've also proven they can show restraint, Dr. Minji added, joining the conversation. We didn't pursue the fleeing ships. We didn't attack council stations or civilian targets. We didn't use our most terrible weapons, even though we have them. We defended our home, and that's all. For now, General Taeyang said ominously. But make no mistake, if this happens again, we won't be so merciful. The vote was called. Would the council accept humanity as equals, with all rights and protections that entailed? This time, the result was unanimous. Every species voted yes. Fear had accomplished what diplomacy could not, but the victory felt hollow to many humans. Colonel Doyun, watching the vote from Earth, turned to Lieutenant Sora. We won, he said quietly. But at what cost? 50,000 ships destroyed, Sora replied. Approximately 200,000 alien lives lost. And how many humans? 843. Doyun closed his eyes. The numbers told the story. Humanity had won decisively, brutally, efficiently. They had proven beyond doubt that they were the most effective warriors the galaxy had ever seen. But now the entire galaxy knew what humans were capable of, and that knowledge would never be forgotten. 10 years passed. The Galactic Council reformed itself, adopting new principles based on humanity's suggestion. Total warfare between council members was absolutely forbidden. Any species that attacked another's homeworld would face the combined military might of all other members. The old system of ritual challenges was abolished. Disputes were now resolved through negotiation, arbitration, or economic sanctions, anything except military force. The reason was simple. Everyone had seen what real warfare looked like, and no one wanted to face it again. Admiral Hyun, now retired, stood on a platform overlooking Earth's orbital shipyards. The war fleet still existed, larger than ever. massive vessels bristling with weapons that could sterilize planets. But they hadn't fired a shot in anger in 10 years. Ambassador Hana joined her, looking out at the fleet. "It's strange," Hana said. "We built these terrible weapons, killed hundreds of thousands of aliens, and somehow that created peace. Si vis pacem, para bellum," Hyun quoted. "If you want peace, prepare for war." It's an old Roman saying, thousands of years old, but still true. "The council species call us the Guardians now," Hana said. "They respect us, but they also fear us." "Good," Hyun replied. "Fear is honest. Fear keeps people cautious. And cautious people don't start wars." "Is that really peace, though?" Hana asked. "Peace through fear?" Hyun was quiet for a moment. "I don't know. But it's been 10 years without any wars. That's longer than some periods in human history. Maybe it's the best we can hope for." On the council station, a new memorial had been built. It showed the ruins of ships from the Battle of Earth, preserved as a reminder. Inscribed beneath in multiple alien languages was a simple message: "Here lie the remains of those who forgot. War is not a game. It is not a ritual. It is survival. And those who fight for survival will use every weapon, every tactic, every ounce of strength they possess. Let this stand as a reminder to all species: choose peace, because the alternative is annihilation." And in the decades since those words were carved, not a single shot had been fired in anger anywhere in council space. The galaxy had learned what humanity had tried to tell them from the beginning. The capacity for destruction, properly wielded, could be the foundation for lasting peace. The humans had come to the stars, hoping to learn how to stop fighting. Instead, they taught the galaxy why they should never start.